Hey everybody, I am back with Samantha Groff of Omnibus Services. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Cheree. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. You are, well known for helping us as online course creators create five-star review courses. First of all, tell us what that means and why it's important to entrepreneurs like us.
Well, five-star reviews for training and online courses and training materials is very crucial because what it does is it allows the company that's made the online course to be able to say, look, I've had this kind of success for all of these people. And you get that by really taking the time when you're developing your online course to meet the learner where they are. Everything in education should be about learner-centered, movement within the classroom, within online space, within the training environments in corporate America or any culture, corporate culture. The idea should be learner-centered. And when you create materials like an online course, completely learner-centered, tapping into multiple intelligences, multiple learning styles, and breaking it down into viable, small enough chunks that a human can consume and then implement and then follow up with feedback. That's when you get those five-star reviewed courses, because you've met the learner where they are and taken them from their zero to hero state, which is exactly what you've promised in your online course.
Right. So you also mentioned that when we get five-star reviews, our marketing costs go down and
Oh
things like
yeah.
that. Tell us a little bit more about that because I think it's important. We're trying to get our word out to as many people as possible, but we don't necessarily have the big budgets of these, Fortune 500 companies.
True story. All entrepreneurs and small businesses tend to bootstrap it when it comes to marketing measures. And when you're bootstrapping it, the best thing to do is to create those best results for your audience. So when you get those five-star reviewed courses and you get those testimonials and those people becoming your raving fans, they go out and they market your course for you. They have now the results. They've proven to themselves, and now they can prove to others that your results are real. This isn't just a bunch of smoke and mirrors BS, which is a lot of courses out there. I met with somebody just last week who informed me that a bunch of the courses that his company is helping to sell are currently just about entertainment. And they're the ones you see all the big YouTube videos on for right now. They're like, oh, meet the astronaut, meet the musician, meet this, meet that, meet this. And these are famous people that are doing these courses, and they're the ones being viewed for the courses. And they are all about the entertainment value. They're not actually about the educational piece. So
Mhm.
when you, as the small business, actually execute and get the result for your learner and your student, and you get them that zero to hero, and they get that, that is value. And that is where they become that marketing agency, and you can give them affiliate links to market with you where they can still make a little kickback. Or you could just ask them for the testimonials and the glowing reviews, and those things make you so much more marketable at a much lower cost for you in the long run.
Absolutely, absolutely. So one of the things you were talking to me about was this whole idea of one and done. What are one and done trainings? And you say that they're ineffective as well. So tell us first of all what it is and why it's ineffective.
First off, one and done trainings are too often found online, and a lot of big corporations try to use them as a means to really get their employees to the hero state that they want them to be at. Which is why I'm adamant that you also do not do the same thing as an entrepreneur in a small business. Don't try to use a one and done methodology. And this is where I throw a bunch of information at you in about an hour to 2 hours and say, go for it. And at the end, you're supposed to be able to implement, execute, get all the same results from
Mhm.
watching my 1 to 2 hour long video. And about 80% of those kind of trainings are are horribly, horribly ineffective. And that is where most of the expenditure in large corporations gets wasted, and even including in the small businesses. So if you're flushing down the toilet 80% of your training revenue, what's the point of doing it? Because that means your sales force isn't getting the trainings that they need. They're just getting smoke and mirrors. They're getting people blowing stuff in their face that they're not going to be able to use to get your company the money and results that you want. So one
Yeah,
and
and I
done
want
is
to
useless.
say that again.
One and done is useless.
One and done is useless. So, so what's the alternative? What do you suggest, and how do you help people actually achieve that?
Okay, so the opposite of one and done is actually a recognition that humans do not learn compartmentalized. So if I want to learn about my cell phone, okay, I have to open my cell phone. I have to figure out how to do the login. Then I need to know how to do the settings and the apps and the time and all the information that my phone can do. But then I might not even understand the working mechanics behind it. When we take the time to actually say, all right, my cell phone is it's a very small piece of equipment that is able to do all these things, but I really only need access maybe this margin of it to improve my life. How can I maximize on that? And when you bother to take the time to recognize that that's the only part your students is going to focus on, and you get rid of the extraneous fluff, then this piece will actually exponentially grow, because now you're setting into place a lot of other support systems. What do I mean by that? So in a training program, you're going to want to have somebody designing your training program that actually understands learning, and they're working with a SME, which is a subject matter expert. And that subject matter expert has all this information that they want to convey. And yes, this is the most important, crucial parts. Well, maybe as the learner, I don't need to know the complex computer logistics behind
Mhm.
all the little
Yeah,
dingbat things in the back of
that,
my
that
phone.
are yeah. Yes, we don't need to know how the internet runs. We just need it to
No, I just
run.
need it to run, but I
Yeah.
might become more interested in the computer science behind it if I understand the why. So I start at the why,
Mhm.
and as the learner, that's where I begin, the why and the how's it going to impact me, and then it grows. So I deliver the content, or I help the SME deliver the content that is going to be most effective for the learner to garner the interest and the quality of information that's going to be able to help them grow for their
Mhm.
business or for their corporation or whatever the heck they're doing it with. And once we've got them engaged, instead of stopping the training there, you give them this piece and then you set up a scaffolding approach where now this person is working with maybe a master in their field who works within their company or works at a different company that they can connect with. So think of it in the coaching world as the reason why people buy into masterminds.
Okay. Okay.
So that's the
So yeah,
idea.
because it could be kind of difficult for a solopreneur to think about how to set something like that up. But the
Mm-hmm.
mastermind is a great way, or accountability partners is a great way for
Yes.
people to actually take this and implement it.
That's
Okay.
a type of scaffolding. So what
Uh,
you're doing is then you get that small piece, you scaffold it with putting it with a mentor or a group
mhm,
kind of
mhm,
setting where you get to revisit this information. And
mhm,
in those group settings, you garner more and more and more
mhm,
and more information. And
mhm,
as you do that, now at each stage in between, they're able to implement the smaller chunks, and then
mhm.
they can come back to a larger training that will enhance everything that they've been working on for this time frame. Instead of setting somebody up for a failure with a one and done concept, I'm going to throw my husband's company out there. They do a really good job on this one. So Gore sets up a mentorship program, and they call it a lot of different things in their culture, but it's
Mhm.
basically a mentor program where you come in and you get in with your division, and then you get your mentor, and then when you decide that you've gotten better and they decide you've gotten better, you change mentors and you shift.
Mhm.
And you can then eventually become the master, and then somebody else is now your apprentice. And the point is that when you can flip that and you start learning and you start engaging with the things that you're looking to do, the
Mhm.
ROI will actually become far more expansive, because now you've actually proven to your employee that you give a shit about them. And I'm sorry, I hate to swear about that, but like, I'm so sick and tired of hearing that millennials suck and that culture is all about shifting. If we actually bothered to put our dollars where our mouth is and actually put the pedal to the metal and really help these people who are coming in ill-equipped, and stop expecting them to have ridiculous degrees that they're not using, but it's just
Mhm.
some checkbox on a daggone application, and we really actually grow our employees, then there is going to be a sense of loyalty. When you don't grow your employees, you don't bother to nurture them and put in that effort. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm going
yeah,
to book
you're
it
absolutely
too.
right.
I'm a number to you. I'm going to book it. Screw you. You don't care about me or anybody else.
Mhm.
So, but when
Well, you
you
also
think
don't
like
get the
that,
best of the person as
nope.
well. So I remember when I was younger, uh,
You're still
about
very young.
15 years ago,
Don't sell yourself short. You're still very
younger,
young.
about 15 years ago, I went to work for this company and I was not really qualified for the job, but I
Mhm,
sold myself anyway, you know,
mhm.
and got in. And what you said was exactly what happened to me, where um, my boss would show me something and then I had to go to my desk and try to implement it, and I struggled. And I went back and I said, okay, well, these were the two places where my notes weren't quite right, and I was, can you help me with this? And then we fixed that. And I went from being somebody who could not have even done, what I was supposed to being like one of the stars of the company. And that company ended up growing from 50 million to 200 million in 5 years. And a
See?
lot of it was because of the information I was providing. But she did have to take a good 3 to 5 months to
Mhm.
really kind of train me through that process,
Yep.
but then look at what I'm not saying I did it all, but
No.
look at, but then I looked back at how that company grew, and it was because they did so into me. And I had to come in with a certain amount of intelligence and all
Oh
of that.
yeah.
So, and I think that that's important for people as well to understand. But yeah, there's a lot of talent, millennial talent, senior talent that, sometimes you may take a person who's 55 and think,
Mhm.
well, they can't learn this new technology. Well, that's not true. You just got to put it into a manner that they can understand, and it's not the one and done, like you said. You can bite-sized chunk it.
One of my friends who's 75 is constantly learning new computer tech and always like innovative
Mhm.
and like trying the newest thing. And she
Mhm.
runs her own magazine and she's always exploring different, you know, apps and learning styles and all these things. And
Mhm.
she's constantly evolving. So
Mhm.
the age thing to me is, personally, it's just a pet peeve of that's not an unwillingness to recognize humanity for what it is. We are
Mhm.
humans, we have feelings, we have integrated beliefs, and yeah, some of it has come from cultural generational shifts, but we can't blanket label everybody as lazy or whatever or old or out of touch. None of these things are applicable. You got to find the human in the inside of everything, and that's the part of learning and the one and done concept that needs to die. like
Mhm.
it like we need to bring about the recognition that human growth and learning is going to only evolve through interconnectivity. I mean, we are a human species. That's what we thrive on. And I can use my own self as an example. I went from being a number one teacher with some of the highest test scores in my county, for state standardized tests, to going to a corporate entity, as an instructional designer where I knew exactly what I was supposed to be doing and I could thrive because I have all my years of teaching experience and, background in curriculum and understanding and psychology of learning, to being thrown into an environment where it was very corporate, very structured, and no one was there to help me navigate even the culture. So I struggled. And
Mhm.
I did very well on the work piece. The work piece was fine, but
Mhm.
I struggled within the culture and climate because it was not something where the human connection was made. And I was a number to them. I got laid off after 6 months because they wanted to bring in somebody different,
Mhm.
and they completely got rid of my job title as it existed because they had this other person that they wanted to bring in.
Right.
And that's fine if that's your methodology. There's a reason why that company had such high turnover. If
Mhm.
you don't care about the growth of your employees and your people, you're not going to be successful as a company. You're going to be flushing your training dollars down the toilet. That 80% I mentioned is because of this crap, because people aren't investing their time. Onboarding is huge. If you don't onboard your new employee with the proper training to bring them up to speed on learning about your culture, your climate, and how you do things,
Mhm.
it's the same thing as creating an online course as an entrepreneur. Like when you're working and creating those 5-star online course reviews, you're looking at your individual customer as your newest employee. You want
Mhm.
to give them the best experience possible. You want them to walk away with the results that you've promised, because when you do, that just maximizes your employee base. It maximizes your marketing center. It maximizes your results as a human and your altruistic beliefs, but it also then, that ripple effect is real. It gives
Right.
people that growth, long
Right.
term and short term. So
Right. I mean, so you mentioned the 70-20-10
I mentioned a
rule.
lot of things.
You mentioned a lot of things, exactly. But so tell people what this is. What's 70-20-10?
Okay, so a lot of people like to talk about the 80/20 rule, and we're taking that and we're kind of looking at it in an educational setting instead. And I'm going to use my kids as an example because this is very real and very applicable. With all the stuff that's going on in the world, um, homeschooling has had to come to a reality for a lot of people.
Mhm.
And what a lot of people don't realize is that in a school setting, you have 8 hours of a day. Your kids are probably only getting about 2 hours of direct instruction in a day. So that'd be about 10%, a little over 10%. It's about 20% of your day, whatever. Math, not my strong suit. I own this. I own this. But about 10% of their day is constructed around direct learning. After that, the next largest chunk of learning that they're going to be doing is social and soft skills. So that's about
Mhm.
the next 20% of their day. And then the last part of it is really that repetitious behavior and implementation phase, which is that 70%. So if you
Mhm.
translate that then into business, when you're looking at training, your individual training or your course materials should only really be 10% of the process for that learner. The 20% should be that connectivity between either the mentor and the apprentice in the actual business, or the coaching calls or direct calls that are going to, or group coaching calls that are going to happen, consulting calls, whatever you want to call them, in your online course. And then the 70% is that implementation piece that
Mhm.
the learner is going to do on their own. So you need to make that 10 and 20%, so that total of 30% in the beginning, that most effective possible so that it supports the learner while they're off doing their own thing and implementing it.
Mhm.
So in an online course, say it's an evergreen course, that's those ones that are constantly rolling admission and they're always available at all points in time. In an evergreen course, that means setting up those automated responses of when a student starts to slow down in their progress in the course. Hey, how you doing? What's up? What happened? this is something, a story, a motivational story to keep them engaged, to keep them learning, to keep them moving forward, and then calling them out to come to the online trainings, making sure that you're able to connect with them, bringing that human connectivity piece to amplify the learning. When you're able to do that, you go from the like 0 to 5% completion rates that are happening with like little to no responses of success to having, 80% completion rates with 60% like complete conversions to that hero state of success. So there's really that concept that you need to look at as that, how can you become that best teacher, trainer, moderator possible? Because the learner needs you. And there's only just so much AI can do for us. And when we don't look at like the 10% of direct instruction, that 20% of that human interaction to amplify that positive 70%, if this 10 and 20% is, the 70% is going to be just as equally, it's just going to equally suck.
So I want to ask you a deeper question, and let me know if we're getting to a place where now we need to put up a paywall for this. You can let me know. So as you were talking, I did the math. So if we take a 40-hour week, and yes, I know you're supposed to have lunch in this, but let's just keep the math simple.
Obviously, my dilemma.
Yeah, let's keep the math simple. So if we're taking a 40-hour week, 4 hours should go to direct instruction. 8 hours should go to that one-on-one time or something like that. And 28 hours should go to doing the work, which your thought is that the 28 hours would be much more productive if you had the 4 hours and the 8 hours of the instruction and the one-on-one time. Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate here for you, because that's just how I roll.
And go for it.
If I am the instructor, or if I am the employer, I would be nervous about having a person do 8 hours of one-on-one time like that. Like if somebody is a boss, for example, that could seem very overwhelming all of a sudden to them. Like, well, this isn't going to work because I don't have 8 hours in a week to give to this group of people. How do you answer something like that? Because that may be a fear or a concern, as well as the 4 hours, thinking that they have to do direct instruction of 4 hours a week as well. What do you say to that?
Okay, so this is not a paywall. This is kind of common sense. This is where people need to start thinking realistically. So obviously, as you are an introductory employee, we're going to take the employee world. It'll be much easier. You're an introductory employee. Your onboarding goes for a week, maybe 2 weeks of connected, really in-depth connected training and working together. By the way, my onboarding at the job I told you I got laid off from was, here's your HR manual, go read it.
A lot of us have that as onboarding. Yes.
No. But if you invest in that person up front, you obviously, there's going to be the day of the HR stuff, and then you're meeting with every integral person that is going to be your direct leader. The person that's going to be your most immediate leader is the person that's going to spend that most amount of time with you during those transitional phases. But the idea is that the time frame shrinks exponentially as you've garnered those skill sets. Your touch points become fewer and fewer and fewer. That 8 hours that you're saying might be spread out over 2 months, but during that first week to 2 weeks, it may be 8 hours. Like within 2 weeks, which is a lot of time, but still now they have a solid understanding. They're not knocking on your door every 5 minutes. Like, I just jacked this up. I'm sorry. I'm confused. Would you please go over it again with me? Because now, instead of them wasting time, say it's a salesperson, and I don't do sales very well. So
I do. So you're right in my wheelhouse.
There you go. So I'm, a manager and a hiree. I come in, okay, we're going to work on our sales process today. We go through it. We say, this is how we do it here. Let's practice together. I go through, I find them a sales cold call, whatever that is that they do, and we get on the phone and I sit there and I'm with them every step of the way. Now they're already making money, hopefully, for the company because they're doing their job, but they're implementing it with extra support. And now we might go through and debrief after that call the ways that we could have improved it. And so now they're going to be allowed to work on their own and practice, okay, now I know that I messed this up, but I can fix it this way. And I'm going to do this one thing. That's that key point that'll get me the sale. So now I do that for the rest of the day. And I meet with my boss the next day and I got 3 sales. Okay, well now you're in your gross numbers. Maybe you're supposed to make 10 sales a day. I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, it depends on the company. It's fine.
I'm making numbers up here. Maybe you're supposed to be making 10 sales a day. So now we sit down. Okay, so how did these calls go? All right. Well, what were their objections? Oh, okay. So now we maximize it. And maybe I sit with you again and I pick I know it's a harder customer. And I sit with you and I listen to you on it, and then we debrief again. And now you've been given strategies each day, and I've maybe spent half an hour with you. But I'm doing that, and then exponentially, your numbers are going up where my time is going down. So
okay, I understand what you're saying.
Supply and demand. That's what's happening is that, the demand for my time goes down as I'm able to increase my output. So, but then say as a company, my boss tells me that we're going to roll out a new platform. Oh God, doesn't that terrorize every manager when they hear that? And now I have to get all my employees trained up on all this stuff. Well, ways to do that is as the manager to own it, be like, all right, we all don't necessarily feel comfortable with this, but we're going to do this together and make it a community effort. And look into programs like Walk Me, do the personal in-person training for those people that need that intense hand-holding, and then find programs like Walk Me, which are, overlay programs for things like Salesforce and any kind of program you want to use. But Walk Me will then literally set up stop points along the way to make sure, oh wait, you didn't fill this out. Your boss needs you to fill this thing out. And then it helps expedite the process but still having that extra hand-holding support. But maybe now the manager doesn't need to be holding it because they're learning Salesforce too or something like that. The idea though is that it becomes that apprentice and master learner. And when we kind of go back, there's a reason that Renaissance families shipped their kids off to a master blacksmith to live there and work there and do every level of that job, as awful as it might have been, in order to become an apprentice,
the next master,
and the next master, because that's how you had skills, because those soft skills and hard skills can only be learned when you have that personal approach sometimes.
That's a good point. And the other thing, I'll go back to the sales team just because that's my wheelhouse, but I think with any team is the 8 hours, I think, doesn't just have to be you. So one of the things, is there are other people who are masters within your departments, or there's maybe someone from outside of the department that can reinforce something for that person. So it's not necessarily 8 of your hours, it's just 8 out, and it doesn't have to be 8 exactly as well.
Mhm.
You know, I'm sure Sam is just saying that this is just,
Like you
you
said,
know,
easy
a
math.
guideline.
Easy math.
It's fuzzy math guideline. Yes, yes. Okay. So tell us a little bit more about your company and how we can learn more from you. Do you have any opportunities for us to work with you? Things like that.
Okay, so Omnibus Services is a education company. We focus on cultivating sustainable, that's the key word there, cultivating sustainable educational experiences. These are not one and done. These are concepts that should be continuously growing. If you're making SOP handbooks, they should be living documents. These are those kind of training manuals that will help standard operating procedures become more smooth and things like that. But we are a team of teachers and VAs and graphics designers and a mishmash of people to really bring together a wholehearted, fully sustainable educational approach that puts you on your brand, but also makes sure that your learner is the center focus of whatever it is that we're designing with you. And it's not a for you, it's a with you, because I am not a master in your craft. And I can't be. The whole point is that I can help you educate the people that you want to educate better, because I am a master at my craft, which is the psychology and actionability of learning and education. I don't work in theory. I work in real world experiences. And I think that's the difference between Omnibus Services and a lot of the other learning and instructional design companies out there. My background specifically has been from corporate and K-12 learning. And when you recognize that everybody learns differently and yet the same, you can start appreciating a more hands-on approach and start seeing a direct correlation between not hand-holding, that's not the right word, but
Assistance.
assistance and community versus not, just one and done. And a lot of companies create the one and done methods, and these one and done methods are flushing money down the toilet. And it's sad. They can be pretty and flashy all you want, but if they don't get you the results, what's the point in dropping all that money on it just to make it look pretty? So that's how Omnibus Services works with small and large companies. The idea is that I do one-on-one consulting. I also do group consulting for entrepreneurs and small businesses that are looking to make a different revenue stream by creating online courses. We have 6 and 8 week programs where I work with you every step of the way on generating your course content from start to finish. And I will only work with you if you have warm leads. So it's like 100+ people that you already have that are committed to listening to you. They're your tribe. They're whatever jargony word you want to call it right now. These are the people that are your followers. And, for corporations, this is definitely something I can come in and work with either your HR department or your, if you have an instructional design team, I can work with your instructional design team to kind of pivot that traditional model like ADDIE, or there's a bunch of instructional design theories, but, and looking at it for Agile even, putting it into a more learner-centered focus instead of corporate-centered focus. Because when the learner becomes the center of the corporation grows. It's kind of like that little seed, like when you fertilize it and you grow it and you nurture it and it gets all the sun and all the things, it just grows into this beautiful fruit. And then if it's like a tomato plant, one seed, you got gazillion tons of tomatoes.
Well, and at the end of the day, you can become more profitable. That's why the best businesses have the best people. But I think what you're doing is you are helping companies take the people that they have, as long as the people have like the basic skills, whatever those
Hmm.
basic skills are, taking those people and actually creating super employees, you
Hmm.
know. Yeah, so you should coin that. You should coin that phrase, super employees,
Super
you know.
employees.
Yes, yes. Through, you know, through the right type of learning
Hmm.
process and protocol. So, so I really enjoyed our conversation
Hmm.
as always.
Yeah.
And I know you also have a Facebook group as well that people can
Oh, yeah.
join, right?
So I have a plethora of different things. So you can find us at omnibusservices.com,
Mhm.
which is our
Mhm.
website. I'm on LinkedIn as Samantha Groff. That's my personal LinkedIn page, but Omnibus is also on there as Omnibus
Mhm.
Services on LinkedIn. We have a Facebook page, Omnibus Services, and then we have a free Facebook group, which is Omnibiz Course Creation. So they're the two big platforms that we're on. Obviously, we're on the other ones. Just those are the two that you can find us most actively on.
Perfect, perfect. All righty then. Well, thank you so much. Wonderful talking to you again, and I will see you on the next video.
Thank you, Cheree. Bye.
Bye-bye.